So, good morning, dear friends. Hope you feel well this morning on this Monday morning. I hope you can hear and see me all right. Maybe just give me a short information whether the technique is with us this morning. My name is Ulla Koenig. I'm a mindfulness meditation Dharma teacher from southern Germany, and I'm very happy to be back with you this week. We're going to continue our journey through those noble truths, those statements of the Buddha, which can be seen as so central to his teachings. And yet they can be complicated, they can be confusing. So we're gonna pick them apart, maybe make them more experienceable, more meaningful to our day-to-day life. And if you were with me the past weeks when I was teaching, we had sessions on the first and the second noble truth, and this week we're going to do the third one. So there should be all kinds of recordings on Sangha Life where you can go back to the previous sessions. But before we start, just the usual framework so that you feel well and safe and can interact with each other. You might have discovered already the chat box where you say those lovely good mornings to each other and share where you're from, and that's such a rich place to share and to be with each other. You can use that to say hello to each other, to share the weather and where you're from. It's lovely to have this feeling of a broad network of Sangha. If you run into any technical issues, that is also the place to go to, so people might have some experience on how to handle things. If there is something with the technique, you can't see me all right, you can't hear me all right, just write that down. And in the end, we're going to have about 15 minutes for questions and reflections and sharings. So if you would love to share something which comes up during the session, just write maybe in capital letters sharing or question, and then I know that I can pick this up at the end of the session. I'm going to talk for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to have 25 minutes of practice together on the theme of the day. And as you know, these sessions are based on donations. So at the very end of the session, you will see a link where you can support Sangha Life and the teachers, myself this week, financially, so that these sessions can continue. Great. Now we get started. I hope everything is clear enough at this point. Good. So, the third noble truth. I think we start with reading it. I'm going to read it out aloud. As usual, my translation, I read translations from other scholars, and I might change a word here or there, so quite natural that you find different translations from the Pali origin. Don't be confused by that. Compare them, see how they resonate with you. Well, here we go. There is a noble truth concerning the cessation of suffering. Yeah, very interesting. Now we explored so far. We explored dukkha in the first noble truth, and we explored the coming together of craving, of clinging, of tanha, of that thirst in the second noble truth. And now we are meeting the cessation of suffering. It's almost like a shift movement. Yeah, we looked into the human experience of dukkha and how we all meet challenge in our lives, and how we react to that challenge in the form of tanha at times. And now there is this gentle shift towards, okay, what can we do about it? Is there actually something we can do about it? And the Buddha says, yes. Part of the dukkha is inherent to human life. But this clinging, this thirst, this form of being driven and pushed and pulled around in response to dukkha, there is something we can do about that. Yeah, so this is the cessation of suffering. It is the complete fading away and cessation of this craving. Now here we have the tanha, the complete fading away and cessation of this craving. It's abandonment and relinquishment, getting free from and being independent of it. He says it's possible in many ways. Fading away, cessation, abandonment, relinquishment, getting free from and being independent of it. Yeah, so very interesting how many forms of freedom from he uses. Yeah, some are more active, some are more a process, some are consciously to do something with willpower and action. But you see, there are many different ways, in which we can be free and become free of something. And I think that is something, just to keep in the back of the mind, that he did not simply say, let it go. Let it go, just let it go. He didn't say that. He describes very different forms in length and in quality to become free from tanha, craving, suffering. So we're going to explore that in depth this week. Let's talk about and remember tanha first. That was the whole week we shared, I think, some time in October. And we talked about this tanha, which we usually hear in a Buddhist context as clinging and craving, these words. Yeah, I also like the words like contracting. The heart mind is contracting around something, or it's fixating, it's hardening. Sometimes it's a feeling of crystallizing. It comes with the somatic feel of being pushed and pulled and wanting and needing to do something with something. So the heart mind is kind of engaged with something, and there is an unpleasant drive. There is an unpleasant impulsiveness within. And the Buddha named three rough categories. The one might be an urge for sensual experience. I need to have, my happiness depends upon a certain experience. Yeah. Whether that is something through the eyes and the ears, or through touch, or with another person, or I just walked the high street the other day, and I was fairly content. You can do this beautiful experiment in a supermarket. You go in, you're fairly content, it's all okay. You just go there for toothpaste, yeah. And then all this advertisement and all these colors and all that very well managed items in the store, they start to nag upon your senses, and craving comes up. Oh, don't I need that red jacket? My mind said, well, we don't have a red jacket, so we don't need a red jacket. Yeah, but it's beautiful, and wouldn't I look nice in that red jacket? Yeah, and the mind went on and on and on. And even after I left the high street, I just saw the mind coming back to red jacket, finding arguments why we desperately need a red jacket. And to see how my, very easy example, nothing dramatic, but how my calmness, my coolness, my ability to be with the experience at hand, that just went out of the window, through the mind going and clinging to that. So, simple example for an urge to have a certain experience. An urge to be something or someone that we know. I need to be that kind of person. I want to be, if I just were that kind of person. And the drivenness comes in. Or the urge, that is the third one, to get rid of some aspect of what defines me. I wish I weren't such an angry person. I need to do something. My happiness, my relationships, everything depends upon getting rid of that aspect of me. And again, we have that clinging, that contraction, that crystallizing movement. And that tanha, that urge, we could almost say that it burns within us. It has a fire-like quality. It's eating up our clarity. It's eating up our ability to be with this moment, to have some spaciousness around the experience. And I love that fire image, to say, well, if that fire becomes large, it has really the quality to burn us up within, And the Buddha's third noble truth, it's, I think, a lot about how to handle this fire. how to handle this fire. And it's interesting. We will see in a moment, the mind maybe goes always to the extreme and say, well, the only way to handle a dangerous fire is to put it out. Just get the biggest bucket of water you can get and just toss it over. Fire is done. Beautiful. And the question is, well, is this always appropriate? Yeah. Is this always useful? Is that always healthy? And is this always what is necessary? Yeah. How do we relate to this push and pull, this drive, this sense of urgency? Yeah. Do we need to stop and get rid of it all the time? So the central word the Buddha used here, there is a noble truth concerning the cessation of suffering. I'm interested in that word cessation. What does he mean? Yeah, what does he mean with cessation? Nirodha. Yeah. And it has been translated in many different ways. When I was preparing for our sessions this way, I read what other teachers had to say about it and scholars had to say about it. And it's so interesting that they do not have a singular, straight interpretation of it. Yeah. And that enriches the practice in so many ways because we can test out for ourselves. You don't have to decide on the right or wrong. Bring it to your day-to-day life and then just test what do I do with this urge? What feels most appropriate right now? So the most classical translation of this cessation is the end of something. Yeah, is this cessation, ending something, bucket of water. Yeah, just spill it all over. And the idea behind that, and just see what that does to you, is that there is the possibility to end all cravings once and for all. Does sound nice? Maybe there opens up quite a gap between where we experience ourselves, perceive ourselves to be right now, yeah, and where we think we should go and think, ooh, that seems to be like a really long path, and there are some strong urges, impulses within me. I'm even either not sure whether I should get rid of them or whether it's possible to get rid of them. Yeah. So that's the one opportunity, the one possibility to say maybe there is a potential to end them. Yeah. The other interpretation of that word Nirodha is also beautiful. The teacher Joe Fronsdal, he translated it as being without obstacle. Yeah, being without obstacle, and that suggests the possibility to be free from the push and pull. Yeah, this being, let's say, the machine dictated by the craving. Yeah, hands, feet, mouth, thoughts are just the machine which enacts the craving. And being without obstacle to me means that, yeah, the craving still is there. Yeah, the urge, the push, the pull, still there, but it does not have the steering wheel in its hands anymore. Yeah, we can contain, we can hold that push and pull, that urge, that wanting, that not wanting, that fire, but the fire doesn't call the shots, so to say. Yeah, our response to experience is no longer under the dictate of craving. How does that sound? Just like allow that to settle. Maybe that already sounds more doable. Yeah, to say, okay, I don't need to get rid of all that. As long as I develop and further develop those capacities to hold that fire, I don't have to blame myself. I don't have to feel guilty for still having it. Yeah. And the last interpretation, the last image I'm going to share is Nirodha as a sense of containing, holding. Yeah. The translation I read there was Rhoda being an earth bank, something we put around a fire. You might have seen those fireplaces. Yeah. Stones usually around it. And being within such a container. So that suggests that we can use our heart minds, our beingness, to create a protective space, yeah, around a fire, an urge, an impulse, a drivenness, yeah, to say, oh, yeah, what comes up here? Interesting, you want me to do that, you want me to do this. I'll see you. And I hold you. And usually for me, it's my mindfulness, it's my awareness of maybe other than the craving. I notice the craving, I notice the push and the pull, and my body and the space around it. And that creates kind of a container for it. And instead of getting rid of that fire, can we kind of tame it and use it? Can we use that beautiful energy? I mean, it's life energy. Yeah, it's alive, it's vibrant, it's fierce, it's kind of beautiful actually. And can we use it into the right direction? Yeah, can we maybe go to the underlying need, for example, and then say, well, maybe we do not have to fixate on that one strategy. Maybe we can bring it back to the need and then open it up and say, okay, we can have a whole variety of solutions to that. So that just see how these three sit with you, and maybe there are times for the one and maybe there are times for the other. When would it be best to not fuel a burn within and allow it finally to cease? Some of these fires within, they have taken up a lot of our time and a lot of our energy, and we're really tired of them. Yeah, we're really tired of them. They are blank suffering. Yeah. And wouldn't it be best that these fires are not fueled further, and that we achieve finally some peace of mind? Sometimes this is what care is wishing for. May you be free from this inner burning and fire. And sometimes it can be okay to just say, well, that is just a simple everyday craving, like with my jacket. There is no deep, profound suffering underneath. It's just the mind hankering for experience. Well, that is what minds do. And to create some space around it and to allow it to just be there and just not buy the jacket, just not go for something, until this urge, this push, this pull subsides. Okay. And then it will come up again. Next time we go to the shopping center, we will experience a similar thing. But maybe we get more skilled in not acting upon it. And sometimes there can be a fire, like a beautiful fire. Sometimes we find it in anger, a beautiful fire to take care of this body, heart, and mind, or of someone else's. And can we just use that fire in a very respectful and appreciative way, and just be careful in what direction we steer that energy? Okay. Some last words before we go into practice together. Some small reminders when you work with those urges and those pulls. First thing is, remember, I am not the craving, and this craving does not define me as a person. It's so easy to say, oh, I'm a greedy person. I want to buy that red jacket. Look at me. There is this greed again. Very hard to work with it if you make it part of who you are. Even the not so nice things. I noticed some craving yesterday. We were home all day and the weather is quite cold, so we spend a lot of time at home. And the children, at some point, it just got to me, all the noise. They were playing happily. Gosh, they were super sweet in one sense, and it was loud. And I noticed it's now the whole sensual input is getting to my heart, mind. And I was sitting on the cushion. I even got some time off, and I was able to go into my room and practice a bit. But I noticed this craving lingering for, I need silence. And I said to my mind, well, look at where we are. We are on the cushion, alone in the room. We have a lot of form of silence. Yeah, but I hear them still. And it was grumpy. It was clinging to that. Yeah, but it's not optimal. Not able to take that in. If I now say I'm a bad mom for reacting that way, and be a bad person for not realizing that there is the absence of noise and contact at that moment, I give myself a really hard time. The human heart mind has a tendency for craving. Just like we all experience dukkha, I would say 99.5% of us experience craving on a daily level. Yeah. And that is okay. We are still on a learning path to learn how to handle that. And we do not create this craving deliberately, because it makes us suffer, it makes us driven, it makes us overact, it makes us overshoot. Yeah, we do not make that. So we cannot either deliberately let go of it. We are we are caring for our heart minds, but we're not under full control over what is going on within our heart minds. So, and last sentence, craving can be so convincing. It's just like trance. Like the craving has a story, a narrative to it. It will get you all kind of reasons, like I said, why we need that jacket, why I need to go downstairs and tell the children to be more silent, etc., etc. The density of the stories, yeah, incredible. How convincing craving can be, incredible sometimes. Yeah, and then we regularly wake up from it and say, oh, wow, I did fall for it again. Yeah, it's a master storyteller. So we need to meet it on different levels, because on the intellectual level, sometimes the stories are so dense we can't keep up with it. It's also a very somatic way to practice with it, to notice, oh, I feel pushed, I feel pulled, I feel I can't sit still. I feel I'm not allowed to have a pause. I can't take away the mind from that, etc., etc. Which is telling you, yeah, this is craving, minor craving, larger craving. Okay. So maybe practice for just today. Can you observe one occasion, just one small occasion of craving, and re-familiarize yourself with what craving actually means, how it feels like, and maybe then questions come up and resistances come up to the practice. Please bring it with you for tomorrow morning so that we can work with all of it. I love the resistances. We will have a close look at them as well this week. Okay. Enough input for this morning. Let's sit together or stand together, or you might want to do some walking or lying down. Choose whatever feels most appropriate for your body and your energy this morning. Okay. And we allow all those many, many words to dissolve into the background. The heart mind will take in all it needs to know at the moment, and the rest we let happily go of. And instead we can just gently visit a couple of places within our body. No need to strongly focus on one place for a longer period right now. Just say hello feet and feel them out. Hello hands, and invite the mindfulness to connect with the sense of having hands for a moment. And shifting the attention, hello sitting bones. Hello shoulders. And you just continue this journey through the body, meeting different body parts, connecting them with them. And just feel out how quick or how slow you want to go. Maybe if the mind is agitated or tired, going a bit quicker can help to Start connecting with the body. No need to linger with that which is unpleasant or tight or even painful. Say hello to it as well. Stay with it for a breath or two. And then invite the attention elsewhere. And even now, or particularly now in the beginning, you might just notice how the mind has a tendency to pay attention to something else. There might be many things which are more interesting, more urgent, more important to the heart mind right now, other than your body. Just notice how it's called in many other directions. It really cannot be any other way. Based on your past experience, on how your days and months were, this is the mind's way to react to experience. It's okay. We're caring for it by bringing it back to some place within the body whenever we have an opportunity, saying, oh dear attention, come with me. Maybe one breath with the feeling of what it's like to have a belly. And now let's check out the elbow. Can we notice anything in the elbow? What about the place just between the shoulder blades? And so on. And maybe you have a feeling that the mind starts to settle down a little. It's capable of maintaining that contact a bit clearer or a bit longer, and feel free to expand, maybe from one breath to two breaths before you shift again. And maybe while journeying the bodily field this way, find some places which feel okay, which maybe even feel a tad pleasant, warmth, earthy. And after a while of shifting attention, you might feel actually a wish to settle. Less movement, less doing. Not coming from the idea that you should become stiller, but actually wait until a natural wish for silence, stillness, doing less arises. Might not be the case for some of you this morning. That's okay. Some of you might have a very active heart mind, quite moving, quite agitated, energized. Just recognize that, saying, oh, this is how you are this morning. All over the place. Okay, let me feed you morsels, just small breadcrumbs of something steady, something stable from the body. And that's all I can do this morning. And sometimes we then notice that it's after a while possible to be connected with some experience, maybe the breath or a sense of stability, groundedness somewhere, a sense of spaciousness or stillness within for a bit longer. But once we have such an anchor, once we declared some experience as our base camp, we might be even more aware of the wandering movements of our heart minds. Like a bird, they get so easily agitated. The world is a wide thing with many impressions and things to think about and worry about, things to do and plan out. And you might just see over and over again how that bird leaves the nest and gets preoccupied and engaged with something. And on some days you might just notice that there's a basic sense of restlessness, agitation in the heart mind. And on other days you might really notice how it goes back to over and over the same theme. That conflict, that unwell-being, that looming thing in the future. Sometimes there is no thing the mind is drawn to, preoccupied with. It's just this residual energy, agitated, restless energy. Maybe rather than yanking the mind back, we can get a feeling for what it is that it's going to. And then with a lot of curiosity, we can see whether we can gently bring it back. Can we invite it back to a mildly pleasant sensation of just breathing? Love, we have time to just breathe, just be here. And you might notice the resistance to that. You might notice how the attention almost is glued to a certain topic or theme or experience. And in those cases, I like to use the little word and. Yeah, there is this problem, this thought, this conflict, this experience, and somewhere in the background, I'm also a bit aware of, my feet on the ground, my breathing. There in the periphery of my awareness, while the mind is so busy with something, I also notice some steadiness, some spaciousness, some calm. Maybe that is all I can do this morning. Yet if you're away, if it's possible for the heart mind to settle a bit, maybe invite it to cradle into this pleasantness. Maybe there is a possibility to invite it to take that in a bit more, allow the well-being, the calm, the spaciousness to take up a bit more space in the awareness. As if we could dive deep into a pool of stillness, comfort, groundedness. And whatever the state, the quality of your heart mind is this morning, maybe it's equally as important to familiarize and feel yourself, feel it out, notice and be aware of what restlessness feels like, and craving and urge and pushing and pulling feels like, as it is to find silence in meditation. Maybe that is not the most important thing, or not the only important thing we can see in a meditation. And with this thought, let's start to gently, gently move this body. Wriggle the fingers and the hands, the toes and the feet. Good morning, dear body. Another opportunity to wake up and start the day. Some stretching, some moving. Yawning and sighing. Gentle touch. And when you feel like it, you can come back to the screen. Great. So I hope this meditation was a safe and maybe an interesting experience for you. And I'd be very happy to hear your thoughts on either the talk, these different possibilities and opportunities to meet the craving. Maybe some of you have some experience of like some craving you can share, or maybe some doubt and questions and even resistances to what I said or to what we did. All is very much welcomed. And you can use the chat box now to share with all of us, which would be very lovely. And I'm just putting in the quote for you. As I said, my translation of the whole text. And I shall also share with you the whole discourse. If some of you love these Pali discourses, some of you don't, and that's okay. And here you can find the text. Good, great. So, some typing necessary and maybe some time for reflection. Maybe some of you like to stay in silence, and that's fine too. And while you do that, I'll just share the trajectory of this week. So tomorrow we're going to talk about how awareness, being present with these cravings and urges and pulls, can actually be a refuge, and how much of our practice aims at enlarging the capacity to contain and hold, like the image with the fire we had earlier, to contain and hold these pushes and pulls and niggles and calls and whatever it is. And then we gonna have a very important topic, I find. We want to discern and distinguish between healthy desires and appropriate needs and clinging. Can we actually, again, make a difference here? Yeah, because not every desire, not every wish, not every dream, not every need we have is automatically clinging. Yeah, and well, if we confuse that, it can cause all kind of dukkha. We're going to speak about the difference between response and reaction. Yeah, very interesting one. And finally, on Friday, important topic, the myth of letting go. Yeah, how letting go is such an important phrase in our practice and often misunderstood and not really helpful. Okay, that's the idea. Yeah, Penny wrote, identification with the struggle is so quick for me. Yeah. We almost can notice that that movement of making something me. I really had made it my practice to change the language as well. My heart mind is, or maybe my, also too big in the beginning. The heart mind is doing that. The heart mind is doing this. Yeah, seeing, quote unquote, myself as the shepherd, the caregiver for this heart mind. Yeah, I'm just not saying, okay, well, it's someone else's. I see it as my job to take good care of it. But it's over and over again to see that there is no control over this thought, over this reaction, over this, or not wanting to have this reaction, etc. This is the heart mind's response. That is what it has picked up, what is deeply ingrained, and to almost like say, well, isn't of my choice. And to practice that all over again, and even in the language, can be something really freeing. Yeah, great. Jenny is writing, I'm often stuck in a craving that pain in my body should stop. Yes, Jenny. We can almost notice that under challenging circumstances, when there is a lot of dukkha, or as I explained with the kids, a lot of sensual input here, we almost can notice how the steadiness, the groundedness in our heart minds becomes brittle. Yeah, it almost becomes brittle, and it's so easy for the heart mind then to fragment. Yeah, and we will just see that after a long day or a long journey, how we, or even in the evening, like who knows that when we go to bed, and all kinds of emotions also well up. Yeah, maybe also hormones checking in and making the heart mind even more brittle. It goes out into all directions and so easily starts to catch something and hold on to something. So when we have pain in our bodies or any other lasting dukkha, yeah, it's so important to nourish, find ways to nourish and to bring ease to the heart mind so that we have some resilience to that ongoing challenge. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Jenny. Heidi's writing, I've had a realization of two completely different areas of clinging. Now I can have a look at how I manage these cravings. Beautiful, Heidi. I'm very happy for that. And this turns it all around, at least in a sense of perspective. Say, great, I found some clinging this morning. Like previously we were thinking, oh no, there is this stuff again which is urging me forwards. Now we have a framework for it, and we can name it clinging. We can actually look at what am I going to do with that. It's almost like a curiosity is back. Curiosity is back and gives us another perspective. Great, thank you. Tanya said, yeah, happy to have you. Do come 10 minutes late, 20 minutes late, yeah. And she feels more grounded and less at the mercy of current stresses and strains. Beautiful, Tanya. You're bringing us to something we do tomorrow, is when we re-establish, that's a lot of what we do in practice already, the container of awareness, this identification, this very narrow window of like being wholly carried away with this content of push and pull, that stops. And we almost like step out of the water, yeah, and are aware of the current and the space around that current. Yeah, maybe that happened. Thank you, Tanya. Natalie's writing. Thank you so much for this useful morning practice and profound as well. Can you explain your take on what dukkha means? Yes, I can, Natalie. I'll give you a very short summary now. And yeah, beautiful. Liz also found the second noble truth, and there is a whole session. We did a whole week on dukkha, or somewhere in September, I think, where you can get a more profound answer to that important question. So I would see dukkha really as any experience which we perceive to be a challenge. That goes from the very small, yeah, just like the kids playing loudly, just going outdoors and the weather is like meh, yeah. That is a small niggle, yeah. But as we just said, a bunch of small niggles can make the heart mind brittle as well. And that, of course, goes to the very large field of sickness and aging and death and loss. Yeah, that is all dukkha too. So we have like a huge field here. And even being angry and having that burn of anger, which we do not like very much. Yeah, dukkha. Not to say, don't get it in the wrong ear, that I think anger is unuseful and should be done away with. Quite the opposite. Quite interesting to explore. But we feel this burning sensation, and particularly with this craving. Yeah. Ooh, how this push and pull, and how this yearning, and how this longing, and this inability to settle down and be peaceful and have some clarity and some stance in our lives. That is dukkha too. Yeah. And the Buddha said, this dukkha of the craving, yeah, that is the one which we can work with. He didn't say we can be done with, or at least in my interpretation, others teachers see it differently. Well, I would assume that the dukkha of illness and sickness and loss is something which is inherent to a human nature. I don't see practice as a spiritual magic where we can get rid of that, but we can respond to the craving, which a lot of the time comes up in response to those niggles and challenges of the dukkha. Yeah, and some very deep, profound roots there I find, with, for example, that which we usually hear as desire. Yeah, this, I want to speak about it as hunger, this underlying hunger. I notice a lot in my heart mind, an underlying fear of not getting enough, not having enough, of not still needing something. Yeah, and that's a wonderful place for craving to arise, and that hunger that crystallizes so often in different forms of craving over the day. Yeah, and Liz very much, very kindly added both weeks in the links here, so you can listen back. Great, thank you. Any more responses, challenges, observations you had today? In the meanwhile, there is my email address for any personal conversations, anything you do not like to share in the bigger group. Even also if you have need some one-to-one support, this is something which I offer on a donation basis. And there's an upcoming sharing circle which you might want to explore in, I think, April as well. So yeah, just as the invitation for today's daily life practice, because I said we want to make these noble truths experienceable. Just keep your eyes and ears and your somatic sense foremost open to this craving. Yeah, to say this is something which surely will happen over the day to all of us. Just notice it. Just notice it. And maybe also notice moments of contentment, of ease, of clarity. Enjoy them fully, and then just ask the question, well, what happened? Usually they're there, and then something happens, something pops up, and just be aware of it. Yeah, just be aware of it. Yeah, someone is familiar with the red code cravings. Wonderful. Yeah, something common human denominator, red code cravings. Beautiful. And Penny says, I notice that there can sometimes be layers of healthy and unhealthy cravings all mixed up together. Right. And Anthea even has a red jacket, which is never used. Yes, Penny. We need to discern that, isn't it? We need to discern healthy wishes, beautiful, healthy wishes and healthy needs from cravings, because else, we can feel guilty of the whole wrong things, like I shouldn't have any needs. Yeah, I shouldn't have any needs. All of this could be craving. So where do we draw the line? Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so I hope there was some food for thought and particularly practice. And maybe you can come back tomorrow and share your lived experience with us. That would be great. And for the rest, I hope. Jenny just wrote something. Let me make that the last comment. I'm feeling the after effect of your answer, and I'm realizing how much the compassion and loving kindness of your answer changed my attitude to my craving. Yes, Jenny. So with any physical pain, how much compassion do we need to have this fragile, painful, hurting body at times? And compassion is a wonderful container for the dukkha. Yeah, quite a wonderful container. And it keeps us safe, protected from craving a lot of the time, because the heart mind sometimes has either the possibility to contain it and hold it, or to manifest some craving. Yeah, great. So thank you to all of you. Have a lovely morning. Come back tomorrow, share your experience. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts and experience and your sharings. Thank you so much.